Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
Well, Sam, just got a surprise news right before we started recording.
Oh.
Just saw a teaser trailer for the final season of Letterkenny.
Oh, wow.
Yep, no one knew it was going to be the final season. And I'm surprisingly more emotional about it than I was expecting. And it wasn't even the trailer itself, it's just the fact that it's the final one. It's like, oh damn. It's like one of those things, like it was always there, you know? I don't kind of like Supernatural. Like I hadn't watched Supernatural in like over a decade when it ended, but it's like Sam and Dean are still out there. They're still out there, you know? It's just kind of there in the back of your head, you know? I even remember when ER ended and I was a kid, I'm like, oh wow. I never really watched it. A couple times I'd see it when mom and dad were watching it, but like,
Yeah.
it's like they're still out there, you know, being doctors. And now, like, once it ends, it's like they're gone. Like they're not there anymore.
Yep.
Man,
It's over.
well, we still have Shorzy, which is good, and it's a really good show. But you don't have the whole cast of Letterkenny, so I'm a little bummed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Also, something else I'm bummed about, my Olivia Rodrigo experiment did not work. I was like, maybe if we named the song after one of her songs, or we named the episode out after one of her songs, we'll get more likes. Nope. It shows you she's still new, dude. She's still new to the game. Like Selena Gomez she's been in the game for a while, and she has like the whole power and the might of Brazil behind her.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Rod, pockets of Brazil, you know?
Yeah, she's getting there. She's getting there.
Yeah.
We'll try it again with the next album.
There you go.
Ooh, we do it. We schedule it that episode the same week her next album releases. That's how we do it.
I like it.
Damn. We should just do that. What was the T Swift album that just came out?
1989?
Damn, we could have done that.
Well, we could have.
Oh well. Even though they're not in 1989 in Dark. They're all over the place apparently.
I know. Jeez.
So, I guess before we jump in, we're missing some crucial stuff. Oh, I already know the answer, so I was just gonna ask for the audience to hear, but I was gonna be like, "Hey, how's your Halloween?"
Oh, yeah, it was fine. I wasn't feeling good, so I stayed home, watched some horror movies. If you know where I am on Letterboxd, you can go read my reviews. They're also not up to date because there are two other movies that I watched that I didn't that I haven't posted up yet.
Hey, and Letterboxd is the place to be because apparently Martin Scorsese is on now.
I know. Speaking of which, I have to go follow him now.
I know. I wanna read his reviews.
Right? I want to know what does Martin Scorsese think about Lyle Lyle Crocodile?
Oh yeah, that was the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh well.
Or Mission Impossible, you know, whichever one.
Mm-hmm.
Top Gun. What are your thoughts on Top Gun?
Yeah.
How was your Halloween?
It was all right. Just went to the family's house. There was a little bit of kids. It was okay. Not compared to. I don't know. This is the first time like we weren't at home, at least for a while, for Halloween. Last year it was kind of dull, but the year before, like it was packed. We had a lot of kids, so it's hit or miss. This year was definitely a miss, but also like because like our aunt's house is on a street corner, on a very busy street. It was just weird because you're worried about kids' safety, and then the only place to park is in the street. So and there's no sidewalks, so like it's just not safe for the kids. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a great house, just not a great house or location for trick or treating.
Yeah.
And it's so damn dark too. So I don't know. It's kind of bummed. I mentioned this like a couple weeks ago too. I was just kind of bummed. Like I'm not really feeling the Halloween vibe this year.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I definitely had to I had to make my own Halloween vibes,
Yeah.
because there was something lacking.
Hmm.
Um Really quick, I did watch, this was maybe like last week. I did watch this YouTube video where this guy bought an old, it was like a 1920s, I guess, like style guide to how to throw a Halloween party.
Oh, cool.
It was really cool. Like, so it was really fun, like trying to make like period accurate like costumes, what you would
Hmm.
do, treats, desserts, all these things. Um, a lot of it is, obviously it's old, so it's a little out of fashion, but it was kind of fun. But the thing that I was caught up on, there's a bit that he does throughout the essay where like three of the people that are inside the style guide, like they just have their photos or whatever, they like disappear right at the beginning. Well,
Hmm.
they show up as witches, and they scare you, quote unquote, but all they do is just like sing a little song.
Hmm.
um and what struck me about it was that the songs were all just like, they were the tunes to like classic Christmas songs, but in like um in a different key.
Hmm.
So it was a little creepier, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, like it was really cool. And so they just like made these jaunty little tunes set to Christmas songs and just in a different key, but they're Halloween carols. And I'm like, we need Halloween carols. And
Yeah.
like just hearing that, like, yeah, like kids aren't out and the streets are all dark and blah blah blah. It's like that just tells me that we disproportionately go all out for Christmas, but for Halloween it's like, no, we don't need that. I don't know, it's too scary. It's too blah blah blah. Christmas time can be scary. All
Hmm.
right. Christmas time can be hard, can be difficult. Halloween time is supposed to be a time of joy. In the same vein as Christmas. Man, I feel like Jack Skellington right now. I'm trying to like pitch Halloween as like the new
Yeah.
Christmas. Like, let's do it. It's like, yeah, we need Halloween carols, and
Yeah.
we need to light up everyone's houses like it's supposed to be a celebration. So,
Yeah. It's like any kind of Halloween mix you put on music, like a playlist, it's just weird and it's lots of repeats. Like
yeah,
there's just not a lot.
yeah,
So also Halloween fell on a Tuesday this year, which is always weird. I know
uh-huh,
at least down here in Texas, like it got pretty chilly. The
yeah,
night before it was cold and wet, so at least on
mhm,
Halloween night it was dry.
yeah, but it's still pretty cold.
Yeah.
I mean, look, like we were all ready, we were all game. Halloween 2020. It was gonna be lit. It was gonna be great. It was on a Saturday. I wanna say it was also like the next day was daylight savings
Oh,
or
okay,
something
interesting.
like
Yeah.
that. Or it was either that or it was like some like super moon or something was gonna be out that night. Oh yeah, I think it was. So like it was like the moon was gonna have like an orange tint to it or something. And everybody was excited. We're like, yeah, it's so great. And then what happened 2020? We all had to stay inside.
Mm-hmm. Damn shame.
You ruined it. Not you listeners, who
Hmm.
are listening to us, but everybody else in your
You know
lives.
who
They
you
ruined
are.
it for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Oh well.
Maybe
Well,
next year.
this was interesting because we essentially went 2 weeks without watching Dark.
I know. And it was weird.
Is weird jumping back in for you?
Yeah.
I had to like get myself into the right mentality. I'm like, okay, let's get back into this.
Hmm.
You know, it's such a difficult show to watch in all the right ways.
Hmm.
Not like Lost, where you could just sit down and enjoy it and like you either enjoy it for what it is or you could really deep dive into it like we do.
Yeah.
God, I really miss Lost.
I
But
know.
yeah. So, well, I guess let's just get into it. We're talking about season 1, episode 8 of Dark. As you sow, so you shall reap. The bodies of two boys are discovered in 1953 at the site of the future nuclear plant. Meanwhile, Ulrich goes hunting for Helgi. So, first off, why don't you just tell me what you told me yesterday about the episode?
Oh yeah. So because we had gone essentially 2 weeks without watching this,
Uh huh.
starting it up again, I was like, oh yeah, oh that's right. Like you getting into the mindset. And then as the episode ended, I was like, damn it. I need to use that website. I need
Yeah.
to use that website that you told us about the first episode that we started this, because everything's happening. So many characters are here, and I'm trying to keep them all in place, and it's too
Mm.
much. It's too much. I even told Kat as we were watching it, like we're watching little Helgi pedal on his bicycle, and I was like, I swear to God, if we're in another time period and we have to meet a whole bunch of new characters, I'm gonna be so upset. And then what happens? He goes to the construction site, and there's all these
Mm-hmm.
new people. I was like, damn it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I should preface and say that they're not technically new people. They're people that we've seen before, just younger.
Yeah.
And ugh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
mind-boggling.
this episode was primarily in 1953,
Mhm.
which I'm glad you called it, because I completely overlooked it when Noah writes the dates on the wall. I was like, oh, I just assumed it said 83, but no, it was in fact 53.
Mhm.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, I mean, it's really cool, seeing like s- seeing everybody like this. This is an interesting case too, where it's like I don't feel like it's kind of like when we went back in time the first time, where it was like, oh, this is like pilot part two.
Right.
This doesn't feel like the pilot part three.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting that like these are like these this isn't our first experience with any of these characters, but it's their first experiences with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Young uh Tronte meeting Claudia,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like, so all these different things. It's like, oh, okay, interesting, cool. Yeah, so just like trying to like keep everything straight, trying to keep everything, like who knows who like how is
Right.
everything related, like, oh, that's right, like that's so and so who's this person's mom, all these things. Yeah, it was a lot, it was so much,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved it. And yeah, I don't know, like this doesn't feel like the penultimate episode, because that's like, I'm assuming that's next week, or next
Well,
episode. But also, like, that's not how this is really billed, like this is
not
like,
every
yeah,
show does that.
yeah.
So,
But it definitely feels like we're building towards something
mhm.
to happen. But one of the great things about the show is that I have no idea what's going to happen. Like, I have so much information that I have nothing to do with,
Yeah.
because I'm just like, what? Yeah, I didn't even think we'd be coming to 1953. So who's to say what's going to happen in the next two episodes? Even next episode, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
All I will say is this: Ulrich is the type of person who, if you asked him if you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler in his crib, would you do it? Ulrich's answer is unequivocally, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, man, because like there were so many things happening that like reinforced uh his viewpoint. You know, the way little Helgi he's collecting dead birds. He even says, they're more beautiful when they're dead. It's like,
Uh-huh.
oh my God, this kid's evil. You
Yeah.
know, after following the kid around for this episode, we're like, okay, he's just misunderstood. He's a little outcast. We get it. You know, he's
Yeah.
a pushover. But like from Yorick's point of view, who already thinks that this guy's gonna murder his son eventually,
Hmm.
it's like all of these things are reinforcing his beliefs, and it's like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
man, he didn't stand a chance.
And I mean, like, not to say he wasn't creepy on his own either, because like he did send Claudia's dog into the caves,
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know.
Exactly.
But in hindsight, in retrospect, it's like I don't think that just like doing that and also collecting dead birds, like I don't think that's
Yeah.
it's not grounds to
We
murder the
saw
kid,
we
dude.
saw Charlotte collecting dead birds in
Yeah,
the 80s.
yeah,
So,
yeah. No, that's true. Which is also interesting.
mhm.
That's an interesting thing that we have two confirmed characters who do that as children,
Yeah.
you know,
And that
and
just
they're
confirms that the birds are still just dropping dead.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't see it this episode, but yeah, I guess we can infer that, Yorick going through the the tunnel and taking the other passage,
Yeah.
the one that Jonas didn't take.
Jonas went right, Yorick went left.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Took him to two different time periods.
Uh-huh. So I'm like, okay, called it, and you
Hmm.
figured that was gonna happen. Also, talk about really quick when Yorick is in the cave in the present day and he's like because he's chasing after old man Helgi, he's trying to find him and he finds the red string, and the red string is attached to it just seems like it just seems like it's attached to like I don't like it looks like one of those door knockers, you
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
it's like it's placed in the ground and it's the Ouroboros symbol, which
Hmm.
is the snake eating its own tail, which is, significant of cycles of life and death and rebirth.
Right.
It kind of also constitutes that like the things like these things are always going to happen.
Mm.
And I feel like that's sort of what happened. I feel like that's what's gonna happen because Yorick did this. Because the first time we ever saw a little kid Helgi, which I think was last episode, he was in
Hmm.
the creepy room that has the wallpaper and the electric chair, but his face was freshly bloodied and messed up.
Yeah.
So then when we see him here and his face is clean, we're like, okay, we can infer that that happens, sometime between here and there. And then Yorick just confirms it all by like, yep, he's the one that gave Helgi those scars. He's the one that messed him up. And I don't know what he's thinking. Like, I don't know if he knows that Helgi isn't dead. He
Right.
just takes his body into the bunker and like leaves it there, and he's just like sitting out there, like,
I mean, he thinks he can change time, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. He thinks he can change time.
That
Which,
also, I was
oh
also going to
yeah,
say that explains why old man Helgi is so afraid of him.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I guess it's like seeing this man. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh man, that's interesting. Uh and like yeah. Speaking of like, how do you go? Because it's kind of like the thing that we had with um talking about Mikael,
Hmm.
where it's like he got stuck in the 80s and he never went back. So he
Hmm.
grew up, he had his own life, did all these things, stayed in Winden, and then had to like grow up seeing these people turn into the people that he knew as a kid.
Hmm.
And like that's wild. That's scary. That is so scary. So I can only imagine how Helgi feels, you know. Yeah, seeing, whoever like turn into the man who gave you those scars. Like, oh,
Yeah,
Ugh.
I mean, it's probably different with Helgi because we haven't really seen a lot of cross with him and like anyone really in the 80s or the modern day, you know?
Just with Claudia and Egon,
Yeah, and
but
by the time it's modern day, like he's already in a home.
yeah, but it's just like, well, he he knows something, and he's involved in this somehow because his son is involved. Peter's involved,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
And so it's and he's in the, again, like first time we see him as a kid, he's in the bunker in the
Yeah.
future. So like oh, and he's pulling the dead kid out of the bunker in the 80s.
Hmm.
So yeah, he obviously knows that something's up. Like, so I don't know. I don't I guess I'm just trying to say that it the ramifications of time travel here
Hmm.
is horrifying, and it feels so horrific that like this is,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just don't know if Helgi knows who Yorick is. You know, 'cause
Mm,
especially when it happens when he's a kid.
yeah,
If he runs into him at the grocery store, sure, he'll probably recognize him. You know, the same way he recognized him in the hospital.
yeah,
Because also Helgi, older Helgi, is actively trying. It seems like he's actively trying to stop it because he keeps talking about there's still time. There's still time. It's happening again. I have to stop Noah. You
yeah,
know. So I don't know if he knew who Yorick was. I feel like there would have been he would have done something. Like I don't know. So
hmm,
I honestly think he doesn't know who Yorick is, and he just shows up in his hotel that one day, and he's like, "What the hell?"
yeah,
But I mean, that's and all. This is so weird because we've talked about it. Like the two closest to the a leading character would be Jonas and Yorick. You know,
yeah,
and this is Yorick crossed the line in this episode.
uh-huh,
And I think last episode or the you mentioned how both Yorick and Jonas are like on parallel paths,
mm,
but you think
hmm,
at some point like they're also detrimental. Like Jonas, even though he doesn't know what Yorick's doing, Yorick Jonas doesn't want Yorick to succeed
yeah,
because Jonas straight up he left Mikhail there. He needs Mikhail to stay there.
yeah,
So and I'm like, that's interesting. That kind of blew my mind when you said that. Like, oh, they are on the same path, but they're really they both have opposite goals.
yeah,
So the fact to see Yorick take this turn in this episode, it's like, oh man, it's like he's really going the opposite direction. You know,
yeah.
how do you come back from that? Like,
I think yeah, and I think it's, pretty indicative because like, yeah, like Jonas, with the help from the stranger, uh left decided to leave Mikhail in the 80s. But
yeah,
Yorick doesn't have that. He
yeah,
doesn't have this guy. He just shows up in the 50s and he's like, these things are happening. There's
yeah,
dead kids here too. Like, so like all these things are here, and he's trying to like piece it together with what little he has, and then it's like, oh, if I can stop it here, then it doesn't happen,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
without thinking of any of the other
Implications.
universal complications that's going to cause.
Hmm. Exactly. And let's talk about that because this was a really interesting episode because the whole thing is framed through a conversation between the stranger and the clockmaker.
Uh-huh.
This whole
Tannhauser.
episode, because I don't even think we saw them last episode. It was like the one before
Yeah.
when the stranger shows up in the shop. And now this, and so we went like a whole week without them. And then this one, they're talking about time travel. And okay, so he did write that book, and he's like, "Oh man, there's only 500 copies." Blah blah blah.
Uh-huh.
And they're talking about their theories on time travel, which is really cool. And it's very much that, the clockmaker was talking about, can you actually change the past? Can you change things? Or are you kind of stuck? Are you doomed to repeat it over and over?
Yeah.
Much like that snake you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. But then of course the stranger reveals he's from the future and he has to change it. So the way he describes it, and when he does, the clockmaker's like, he's like, I don't want any part of this anymore. I don't want any part of this conversation. Get out of my
Mm-hmm.
shop, blah blah blah. But the stranger basically says, he shows him the time machine, and he's like, this helps us travel through time, blah blah blah, every 33 years, which we had discerned already.
Mm-hmm.
But then he said, there's another one in the cave.
Oh yeah.
And the clockmaker's like, does the machine, did they cause that? He's like, no, there's a incident at the nuclear reactor that causes it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I want you to fix this so we can close it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so the clockmaker's all like, wait, you want to create another, what is a wormhole? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, you want to create another wormhole? He's like, no, I want to close the one that's there. Oh, and he says, he's like, I've seen the future, blah blah blah. And he's like, this town is a festering wound, and we're all a part of it. There's that word
Mm-hmm.
again,
Mm-hmm.
fester. Ooh, such a Halloween word. Ooh.
Uncle Fester would agree.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know, man. So it was really cool to get all that, and we could pretty much. I think we can confirm now that the clockmaker is the narrator,
Yeah.
right? Like it was kind of always. It really hit home this episode because he talks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
He talks a lot, and a lot of his, I guess if you want to call them monologues or soliloquies, like they are set to people doing things, or they set up going to like another thing. So it's like
Yeah.
you really get, you really have just his voice in your ear,
Yeah.
which is how the series starts. So you're like, okay, so yeah, I think we're 100% confirmed that he's our narrator.
And okay, we'll just finish talking about those two real quick. Stranger leaves a time machine with him.
Mm-hmm.
The clockmaker's there, and he goes and pulls the original off the shelf,
Mm-hmm.
and he has both. So like he never knew that it worked
Oh.
or whatever. I'm like, oh god, that's so cool to see them next to each other. One is brand new, the other one's used. I'm like, oh
Mm-hmm.
god.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, Ulrich in 1953 goes to the clockmaker when he's younger. He's 33 years younger. I'm like, what is happening?
Uh-huh.
This is
Uh-huh.
so good. This is so good.
And he's left all of his stuff there. He left his jacket
He left his jacket and his cell phone.
and his cell phone.
The clockmaker finds it at the end
Uh-huh.
and it turns on and he's like, huh. Like,
Mm.
oh,
Oh, he's freaked out by it. Like it turns on, it makes a noise, and he's like,
yeah.
oh,
He's freaked out about it.
yeah.
Also, he shows him the book and he doesn't recognize the book, but he's like, it's the old version of him. He's like, that's not me, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's written the book yet.
Yeah. No, doesn't seem like
So,
it. I
oh,
think it like, because yeah, that moment sort of made me think of the the who wrote Mozart analogy.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. The
You
bootstrap
know,
paradox.
yeah, that,
Did we
so
we talked about that during Lost.
yeah.
We didn't talk about it here.
No, we talked about it during Lost, in another time travel episode,
Yeah.
because it was the thing with I think
Desmond. Yeah.
Desmond and Daniel.
Yeah.
Like the idea has to come from somewhere. Like there has to be an
Yeah.
original point where the idea comes from, but in every loop, it's just information that gets relayed through the person going back in time or the
Yeah.
person going forward, like stuff like that.
So All right. Spark Notes version, listeners, I have to rewind because I already had this discussion when we were watching Doctor Who. I mean, when we were watching Lost. But I like the way Doctor Who explains it because he
Mhm.
uses Mozart as an example. Bootstrap paradox. You have a time traveler. Time traveler's a big fan of Mozart. So he goes back in time and he takes all of the music sheets because he wants Mozart to sign them. Well, when he gets back in time, he can't find Mozart. He's asking around, he's looking for family. Nobody knows who this guy is. Well, then slowly the date starts getting closer and closer where Mozart creates, his music and he becomes famous, and there's no Mozart. So the time traveler thinks, oh man, I've screwed something up. Now I've created a world where there's no Mozart. So he decides to take the Mozart sheet music that he has with him and start playing it. So the time traveler now becomes Mozart. In this
Mhm.
world, he is Mozart and he's the one who becomes famous. So the question is, if he went back in time and there was no Mozart and he became Mozart himself, where did the sheet music come from? Because the time traveler didn't write it.
Mhm.
So where did it come from? And
Mhm.
that's the bootstrap paradox. Same thing happens with Lost with Locke and his compass, right? That's what we
Mhm.
said. The compass is given to him by Richard, I believe,
Mhm.
in modern day, and then Locke gives Richard the compass back in, geez, I don't know, 40s, 50s,
Mhm.
like
Something
whenever
like
that
that.
was. So it's like there is no, at least not that we've seen so far, there is no beginning, there is no origin to that compass.
Mm.
That's what the bootstrap paradox is. So that's kind of what this situation is. And now it's like, okay, uh, the clockmaker doesn't have the book, so he still has to write it, but he has the phone.
Yeah.
So does him creating the time machine, him writing the book about time travel, it seems to stem from him finding a phone from 2019. That's what it
Maybe.
seems like so far.
Mhm.
So it's really crazy because the man who invents time travel, he got the idea from someone else.
Mhm.
That person essentially got it from him.
Yeah.
So it's this loop. It's like, who created time travel? We don't
Yeah.
know.
We
There,
don't know.
no one did. It created itself.
Mhm.
And he mentions the chicken and the egg. He's like, we can't tell anymore what came
Mhm.
first. I was like, oh, yeah, wild.
Wild.
Um, while he was there, though, he saw young Enos, who's the nurse.
Mhm.
They're talking about the dead kids and his mom. I forgot what his mom's name was, but he's like, Mom? And that's also after he ran into his father and his grandmother on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh Yana or Jana? That's his
maybe.
mom. Yeah.
I think so.
I have the family tree as of episode 8. Uh
Oh, did you get the app, or are you just on the website?
no, we were just on the website, but yeah, so like we've got like the top row is everybody in the 50s, middle is everybody in the 80s, and the bottom row is everybody in the present day. So they're all lined up with like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is who everyone is and their like kind of like their family tree, like how it grows.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, he saw his mom in the shop with Enos.
Mm-hmm.
He met his dad and grandmother in the road going into Winden.
Yeah.
Um, which is crazy. Okay, let's let's talk about something for a second. Let's talk about the infidelities that tend to happen in that house.
Right?
Because
Yeah.
there's infidelities happening in present day with Ulrich and Hannah. There's an infidelity in the 80s with Trante and Claudia.
Mm-hmm.
And now in the 50s, it like for a while it feels like, oh, okay, yeah, obviously this beautiful, woman comes in, and she's, it feels like, oh, okay, yeah, she and Egon are gonna have, like a
She's
like a
got his
thing.
attention, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure. But then uh what's her Agnes. Agnes is Trante's mom.
Yeah.
Um Doris is Egon's wife. Um
Yes.
Doris and Agnes, they're like fixing the beds together or whatever, and Agnes just brushes her hands. Very it feels nonchalant, but it's also very obvious. And I'm just like, girl, this is the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta slow down. That's like you showing up in that red dress,
Mm-hmm.
touching another woman's hand like that, man. So but yeah, I feel like that's gonna
Yeah.
be, and it's interesting that Tronte's dad isn't around
Yeah.
because
They said he's
Agnes
dead.
has died.
Yeah.
And at the end, during like the montage and stuff, young Tronte is like pulling up his sleeve, and those look like some nasty cigar burns or cigarette
Yeah.
burns.
Yeah. It was nasty.
But I don't remember this.
Mm-hmm.
But Cat was using this, using the website, and apparently earlier in the series, Yorick said that his grandfather was a clergyman.
Hmm. Interesting.
Now
I don't,
that
I don't remember.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, once the season ends, I'm gonna try and like go back and watch the whole thing,
Yeah.
before we get into season two. Um, but the only clergyman we know in the show is
Is
Noah.
Noah. Yeah. And Noah was brand new in the 80s. They said, oh, we have a new priest.
Mhm.
They're like, oh, yeah. And then the twist is, oh, it's Noah.
Yeah,
So, yeah. So we don't really know, like, if there even is a priest in modern day
yeah.
or in the 50s. I don't know. So, what's your dark.netflix.io? That's where you're
Yeah,
at?
yeah. I
Oh,
mean, I pulled this. This is the I don't know. We just captured this. Like this is on my phone. Cat sent me this in a text, but
oh. Because I was going to say, this is what the family tree should look like after episode 8.
ah,
And I'm like, that doesn't look anything like it. Because it's
she
all
may
black and cool.
she may have gotten this off of Reddit, but
Okay.
hey, I did say, I was like, hey, like, and she was like, I know, I went to the Reddit that was specific to this episode, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
All right.
yeah. But no, after that, she was on the website, so we were going this. Also, they talked about 33 popping up a lot.
You hear that?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the website. I think it's so cool. It's like,
it's
that just
yeah,
sounds like dark.
it's like I'm in it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
in dark. 33 popped up a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
they were straight up calling it out. They're like 33 miracles, angels, the age of the Antichrist, all this stuff. I was
uh-huh.
like, oh, wow.
Also, the number of dead flock from the present day of the
Oh,
flock
yeah,
of
that's
sheep
right.
is 33.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Interesting. I don't know.
A lot happened, but it was all kind of contained within the same, like, really just two stories.
Hmm.
Uh,
And we basically get a snapshot of, like you said, like the early construction of the power plant,
yeah.
because Helgi's dad is talking to the city council at the site while the police are like closing it up to
Yeah.
investigate the dead kids. Um
Which this is interesting because it's brought up that people are hesitant to back the plant after finding two dead kids. Like it was left like as a message. And it's like, okay, Noah and Helgi dumped the two bodies there.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah.
even hidden. It was like they were meant to be found. So, but the plant is the reason we have the whole wormhole in the cave in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what's their plan? What are they doing? You know?
Yeah.
Why are they killing kids? Is it on purpose or is it just a byproduct of whatever they're trying to do with that chair?
Yeah.
Because they know about time travel, they're using it to dump the bodies.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's crazy, man.
All I know is I don't like Helgi's mom.
Oh, dude, very creepy, right?
Very creepy, very sinister. Lots of
Yeah.
vibes that I did not like.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah. Maybe maybe the second most uncomfortable thing next to Ulrich bashing a child head in with
Yeah,
a rock.
poor
Like,
Helgi, man. He
man,
he had it this episode.
he had his mom tell him to like strip down in front of her. Then he had to go get peed on by some bullies,
Yeah.
and then he had to go to tutoring right after that,
Yeah.
where he's getting most of the answers wrong. And then he's
Yeah.
got to go see the girl he likes run off with this other boy.
Yeah.
Fresh new face to town, and then the stranger that he met earlier in the day nearly beats him to death. Like,
Yeah.
this is just the terrible,
So the
no
one
good,
thing he
very
can
bad day for
control,
Helgi.
he does. And he sends the little dog, what's the dog's name?
Gretchen.
Gretchen, into the time cave.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, he straight up sent that dog through time.
Right.
Man.
Which, to be fair, I feel like for everybody else, it's like, dude, why do you keep doing that?
It's a
You've
letter
done.
Kenny thing.
Oh, okay. It threw me off. Uh,
Time caves.
no, I know, but I'm gonna say to be fair again, and I'm like, I'm watching you now. No, stop it. It feels like, uh, damn it. It feels like all the adults, or everybody else who's gone through the time cave, they've all gone really deep into the cave.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, you know, I'm not judging the prowess or the aim or the arm on that little boy, but he threw a stick and it sounded pretty close to the cave entrance, and then the dog was just gone. So I'm like, I don't know.
He threw that stick so hard it went through the steel door and into the future.
But then the dog didn't see where it went, and then it went into the further past.
Yeah. See, that's interesting. So those two tunnels we see from the modern day. No. Yeah, from the modern day, one goes to the 80s, the other goes to the 50s.
Uh-huh.
So if you're in the 50s,
Where does it go?
yeah, does one go to the 80s and one goes to 2019?
I don't see,
Because that's where your comes from, so it would have to.
I don't
Or is there one that takes you even further back? Like,
I think there's one that might take you further back.
so basically, I'm thinking like, do you have to?
Well, no, why would it? Because the power plant is the whole point, or not the whole point, but the power plant is at the crux of this.
Yeah. So well, there's no power plant in the 50s, but they still got there. You know?
Yeah, but that's because I feel like because it's been opened.
What do you mean?
Well, it's the bootstrap paradox of it. It's like at some point, where did the wormhole get created?
Right.
Was it created in the 80s during like after some incident, or was it always there and it was just opened in the 50s?
Well, when was did
Or
they say when the power plant was opened?
no.
They don't, right?
Well, they probably did, but
It's already been operational for a good while by the time we get to the 80s and Claudia takes over.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm. I don't know, man. Yeah, because I'm wondering, like, okay, do the tunnels only take you to those 33 years, or is it those 33-year increments?
Mm. So like if it's like
It would
so
have,
so if
well,
it's like 2020, is it going to take you back to that point in the 80s, or is it going to take you to the next year in the 80s? Is
well,
that
it
what you're
seems like they're
asking?
all, no, it seems like they're all going on the same time. Like they're
Yeah.
all on November 6th or whatever.
Oh,
But
I see
it's
what you're saying.
like,
Yeah,
but like, okay, Yorick came back in time from 2019. So theoretically, he can get back to 2019 through that same tunnel,
yeah.
which means if someone else wanders in, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think who we didn't recognize this episode. Uh, I don't know, whoever. The morgue, the mortuary guy from the 50s, if he
Okay.
randomly walks in
Uh-huh.
to that cave, can he end up in 2019?
Mm.
You see what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Mm.
it's like the tunnels are in the increments of 33 years.
Mm-hmm.
But we then again we haven't seen Yorick go back.
Yeah.
Well, Jonas goes back
Yeah.
from the 80s. So basically I'm just saying, is this it? Is this the closed Y? You have 2019,
Mm-hmm.
1986, and 1953.
Well, no, it's not. We have whatever 33 years from 2019 is, because the strangers from the future.
How,
Unless he's from some
well, shit.
unspecified time,
Yeah.
or if he's already there and he's
Oh,
referring to the
well,
future
but he also
as
has a time machine.
2019.
He has a time machine though.
Yeah.
So maybe he used that instead of the caves.
Oh, baby. We'll
So I
see.
because I'm trying to think of the caves, like physically, there's just three tunnels.
Mm,
So I guess if you use the cave, you're locked to those three different time periods.
maybe.
And the time machine, I guess theoretically, it works on the same rules though. It's the 33-year increments.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Just have to think about this. Because I'm physically trying to think out geographically because it is a physical tunnel that you can crawl through to go through
Uh-huh.
time. So I'm like, how
Uh-huh.
geographically, how does this work actually? Okay, all right, all right,
It's time geography.
yeah. All right, man. Well, MVPs for this episode.
Oh man. I'm I don't know. I was gonna say my gut reaction was to say the clockmaker, Tannhauser.
Right? Yeah, I kind of liked him.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not kind of like I did like him. I did enjoy it, and I think it was a cool way to tie in like, oh, this guy is the narrator.
Hmm.
Okay. And he is kind of like leading us, the audience, into this journey of exposition and an explanation of time travel without making it boring.
Yeah.
You know? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, okay, I get this. Okay. But I feel like there's a but coming.
Yeah, because I was also gonna give it to Ulrich,
I think so too.
just
Like
because
the
such a
actor,
great
not the
performance.
character.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Such a great performance. And like you could really see this guy like I love everyman protagonists
Mm-hmm.
who get sucked into these like otherworldly, events and cases and all this. And it's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's just a cop. He's a messed up cop. He's not even like he's like John McClane levels of messed up. just minus the alcoholism, like
Yeah.
he's done, he's tired, he's jaded and cynical. And then his kid goes missing, and now he's stuck in the 50s,
Mm-hmm.
where there's more dead kids and he's trying to figure it out. And yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
I love seeing quote unquote normal people in these extraordinary circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Last thing I want to say about him going through this episode, having it already set in his mind that he can stop Helgi from killing these people in the future, and him actually attempting to kill him. It's all these like, what is it like? Like I was saying, it's like all these little tidbits of information that are like further uh uh progressing his train of thinking, his train of thought. I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like he has it set in his head that this is what he has to do. This is
Oh,
what's going on. This is who's responsible,
yeah,
and
yeah,
all this other little info he's gaining, he sees it as justification. Like, yep, this is it. This is the
yeah,
guy. Who else
yeah,
does that? Egon. Egon
yeah,
in the 80s finds any little piece of information he can to use against 80s York, and
yeah,
he does.
yeah,
And it's like after he beat the shit out of Helgi with the rock, I'm like, dude, he we haven't seen Egon do anything like that violent or despicable, but I'm like, he's doing everything Egon did. He already has his decision in his head. This is the guy.
yeah.
This is our culprit, and he's going after him.
And what's crazy is that we see where Egon gets that idea from. He gets it from his, not his partner, but just the other officer, you know?
Yes, yes, and now we have a direct relationship because we find out Ulrich's father and grandmother were living in the same house as Egon.
Uh-huh.
So there's already this connection now between teenage Ulrich and old Egon that we never knew before. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, what happens that makes young cop Egon become this old jaded cop Egon who just absolutely hates this teenage kid?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful the way they're telling this story backwards,
Hmm.
yet forwards at the same time, without having to like rely on flashbacks.
Yeah.
You just dip into some time travel.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, predictions.
Man, I mean, I think just the biggest one is that Yorick has inadvertently placed Helgi down the path that we already know. Well, we don't know exactly where it goes, but we already know that like Helgi is involved in this somehow. Even if as an old man he's trying to stop Noah, it's like he's inadvertently now on the path to finding Noah, meeting Noah, doing all these things, dumping kids' bodies through time,
Yeah.
and getting his own son involved, and leading up to the disappearance of Mikhail.
So
Like,
he's inadvertently caused it all.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Jeez.
yeah. And it's yeah, it's wild time travel. Also, we didn't even talk about it, but when we see the whole web that's on the wall in the bunker,
Yes.
we also see who's looking at that web in the bunker. And I bet you $1 to donuts that it's old Claudia.
Uh-huh. I'm glad you caught that because we see her picture. So the wall, it's the characters' pictures from the three different timelines, or
Mhm.
not timelines, but places in time. And the first one we see is Claudia, young Claudia in the 50s, adult Claudia in the 80s, and then an old lady Claudia who we have yet to see in the show until the end of that montage.
Uh-huh.
This is the bunker, it seems, with the web of pictures and all the guns.
Mhm.
They've teased this bunker.
Grenades.
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
teased this bunker here and there throughout the show. And now we see it and we see who it belongs to, and it's old Claudia.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh crap. So
Oh
where the
man.
hell in time is she?
I'm telling you, man, she's 33 years from 2019.
So that would be we figured it out last time. I don't remember the math though. Let's see, I got my calculator right here. 2019 plus 33,
2052.
2052. 2052. Wow.
Well, it's interesting because the three timelines or the three time periods, like, yeah, like it ends in 2019 because those are all the pictures that we have of everybody.
Right.
So I guess we can assume that it's still 2019 when she's looking at it. Because yeah, you'd have to think how
Well,
old would she be
but we've
by that point?
seen the bunker in 2019.
We have seen the bunker in 2019. So, but again, it's like when in 2019, where it's like
Well, yeah. I mean,
because this is being told linear, but also perpendicular and backwards, but in a forward way, just like you said. And so it's
yeah.
like, yeah, like we've seen different rooms at different points that were like, oh wait, that's that room, like, oh wait, that's
Yeah.
this, so it's like
But
I do believe that it's the bunker, but when in 2019 is it?
well, but
Is
here's
it
the thing. And I kind of mentioned this again a couple minutes ago. They've already stated this in the past, like especially I think the last episode or episode before, like they're all in sync. We're not we're jumping through time, but we're not really jumping through time unless it's I think we had one flashback and that was Regina's dream where she's tied to the tree.
oh yeah, yeah.
Everything else is in step with each other. So like it's November
Okay.
4th, 1 p.m. in all three time zones or
Okay.
timelines. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So we haven't seen, oh, this is November 2019. Here's a flashback to March 2019, you know?
Uh,
That's also why we saw Michael Conwald, he commits suicide, and then all of a sudden we
yeah.
get the opening credits and the story jumps like a couple months, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So other than Regina's dream, we haven't really seen any flashbacks.
I would counter that with whatever scene of whoever's digging the bunker and who has the tattoo with the
They're digging the bunker?
yeah, they're digging in the bunker.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just because we saw Noah sweeping up the bunker or like mopping up the blood and stuff. That wasn't the same like shot.
No, because it was from an earlier episode, because that was when we were
Yeah, it was like episode
when
1 or 2 when we saw that first image of the tattoo.
yeah. And we're like, oh, this dude has a tattoo on his back, looks
Yeah,
crazy, hardcore.
interesting. Well, I mean, it could be, but like as far as like what they've showed us story wise, there hasn't really been any jumps. You
That's
know,
true. That is true.
that's kind of what I'm saying about like because we've seen flashes of this post-apocalyptic looking bunker, or not post-apocalyptic, like she looks like a prepper, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, she probably I don't know, she probably. Oh well, this is interesting. She's the same age as Tronte.
Yeah.
Do you think Tronte and this old Claudia we see look the same age? Maybe. This
Hmm.
lady looks pretty haggard though.
Yeah. Hey, I mean,
Could she be older? Okay, 50s,
maybe.
60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s to 10s. Okay, so it would be young Claudia would be 60 years older.
Hmm.
So at least 70s in 2019.
Yeah.
It could be her.
Yeah. Could be.
It still doesn't explain though how we've already seen the bunker in 2019 and now we have this her version of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure next week all our answers will be questioned. Guys, let us know what you think. Hit us up, hashtag Lost Legacies. I'm on Twitter at _Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
And I'm on Twitter, Instagram at Threads at Real. That's REEL Texas Weirdo.
You know what I miss? I miss Marta. Like,
Yeah,
they gave us one really solid episode with her, and she blew it away. And now she's like, "All right,
right.
back to
Everybody else.
the supporting cast." I was like, "God damn it, okay." So, who knows? Maybe we'll see her next week. Oh, I didn't even tease it.
Yeah.
Next week we're talking about Dark season 1, episode 9. Everything is now.
Ooh.
The consequences of everyone's actions come calling. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess until next week, guys. Going dark.
Going dark.
Right? I already forgot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot too. I was like, wait, are we doing something fun?
This is dark. It's not fun.
Brutal out here.
No!